If you've ever spent time in a big factory, you've seen it happen. You've got hundreds of engineers all working hard, but only a handful, a select few, really truly skyrocket in their careers. So what is it? What separates the indispensable engineer from the average one? Well, let's dive in and figure that out.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? It's this puzzle that plays out on the factory floor every single day. You can have two people with basically the same experience, the same work ethic, but they end up on completely different career paths. So what's the secret ingredient? What's the real difference maker?
Well, here's the answer. It's not just about putting in more hours or having more years on the job. The real difference, the thing that sets the top performers apart, comes down to mastering 4 very specific and learnable capabilities. Let's break down this framework pillar by pillar.
Okay, so our first pillar is probably the one you'd expect, technical skill. This is your foundation. It's the absolute bedrock that everything else is built on. Honestly, without this, the other pillars just can't even stand up. So, what do we actually mean by technical skill in a factory? We're talking about a deep, almost intuitive understanding of your entire environment. You've got to know the machines inside and out, the exact processes they run, the materials you're working with, the quality standards you have to hit, and how all of those pieces fit together in the bigger production system. Let's make this super concrete. Say you're in cable manufacturing. It's not enough to just know how to run the machine. Nope. You need to understand the science behind the conductor, the specific properties of the insulation, the really precise process parameters, and all the nitty-gritty testing standards for that final product. That's what real depth looks like.
And listen, the payoff for having this deep knowledge is huge. You become the person who can figure out a problem in minutes instead of hours. The operators and supervisors on the floor, they see that you know your stuff, and that earns you some serious respect. Pretty soon, you're the go-to person whenever things get complicated.
So, once you've got that technical foundation locked down, the next step is to zoom out. And that brings us to our second pillar, system thinking. This is all about taking that deep knowledge you have in one area and using it to see the entire factory as one big, interconnected organism. The key word here is interconnectedness. So many engineers get stuck in their own little silo, They just focus on their piece of the puzzle. But a system thinker gets that the factory is a chain. If one link gets weak, the whole operation is at risk. It's about seeing how cause and effect just ripples through the entire facility. For instance, a little delay in production doesn't just stay in production. Oh no. It creates a backlog for the quality team, which then throws off the warehouse schedule, which messes up dispatch. And what happens at the end of all that? A late delivery to the customer. A system thinker sees that whole domino effect before it even starts.
And this is exactly why management puts such a high value on this skill. People who think this way, they don't just fix small, isolated problems. They improve the health of the entire operation. They're the ones who can spot the real bottlenecks that are holding everybody back and streamline the flow to make the whole factory run better.
Right, so improving the whole system naturally leads us to pillar number 3, which connects what you do as an engineer directly to the company's wallet. We're talking about cost awareness. Because at the end of the day, a factory is a business, and every single decision you make has a direct impact on the bottom line. An engineer who's really valuable understands this. They get that raw materials aren't free, that every minute of machine downtime is money just burning away, and that every single rejected part is a direct hit to profitability. They see the factory not just as a place that makes stuff, but as an engine that makes money. And what's wild is how tiny changes can have just a massive financial impact. I mean, take this number, 1%. It seems so small, almost insignificant, right? Well, that 1% is a giant. In a big factory, cutting your material scrap by just a single percent can literally save millions of rupees or dollars every single year. This is how you show your value in a language that every single executive understands: profit. But here's the thing. To make those changes, to find those savings, you can't do it all by yourself. And that brings us to our final and maybe the most important pillar, leadership. Because manufacturing isn't just about machines and data, it's about people and getting them all to work together. Leadership on the factory floor has nothing to do with a fancy title. It's all about action. It's communicating so clearly that everyone's on the same page. It's creating a culture where problems are challenges to solve, not reasons to blame someone. It means taking ownership. And most importantly, it's about making your whole team better.
And this brings us to a really crucial distinction. A good engineer, they solve problems. And that's valuable, no doubt. But a great engineer, well, they're a force multiplier.
They don't just fix the one issue in front of them. They build a team that can solve problems on its own. And that kind of impact is just exponential.
So, there you have it. We've walked through all 4 pillars. But the real magic, the secret to becoming truly indispensable, well, that happens when you bring them all together. They don't just add up, they actually multiply each other's power.
So here it is, the real formula. Your technical skill lets you understand the process. Then, system thinking helps you improve the entire factory. Your cost awareness lets you protect the company's profitability. And finally, your leadership ability is what empowers you to drive the people and the change that makes it all possible. That combination, that's what makes you unstoppable.
Look, manufacturing is an incredibly complex and rewarding world to be in. The goal shouldn't be just to show up and do a job. The real goal, the real prize, is to become a high-impact problem solver for your organization. So the only question left to ask is, are you ready to start building your 4 pillars?